Yesterday, I made a video about energy vampires and about sensitive people, and I said that it's not so bad to be sensitive. And one of my friends who I studied with Reiki and energy and healing said to me that maybe I should explain ways that people can protect themselves. And there's quite a lot of ways. The easiest way is with incense, with sage, for example, incense. To go and buy a sage incense stick and burn the sage and let the smoke go around the house. And if possible, to carry the incense stick safely in a burner or on a burner around the house to each room, into each corner of each room, and to work clockwise or anti-clockwise so that you get into all the corners. And just let the incense stick burn in each room, in each part of each room. You can even go outside and do it outside in the garden, if you have a garden. You can do it at work if your boss and colleagues will allow you to do it. And what this does is it gets rid of negative energy. So it's not just about being sensitive in your own space, but for example, if you work from home and you have visitors, then at the end of each day you can burn sage. You can also get stronger stuff, as it were, such as frankincense and myrrh, and you can burn those as well. And then an oil, which you can use, lavender oil, for example. Lavender is a balancing oil. So lavender will pick up and also pull down and bring everything into balance. The next thing is to get something called a sage smudge stick. And this is sage from the forest or sage from the mountain. And it's twirled into a kind of a stick. And it could be about this size, about a hand size thick. And what you do is you burn the edge of it, the end of it, and then you walk around the house in the same way as with the incense. And you smudge the house. You smudge your apartment, you smudge your office, you smudge your property, you smudge where you're going. If you walk into a building and you feel bad or you feel like there's negative energy, you can use the sage smudge stick or the incense, whichever is easier for you. So these are a couple of ways of dealing with negative energy. And the negative energy might not be bad negative energy. It might just be you've had people in your space and you want their energies out. And so you burn incense or smudge sticks, sage smudge sticks. And if you can get it, American sage is wonderful. And often if you have shamans or people traveling or you have local fairs, then you can often get this kind of smudge stick. But obviously there's local sage as well in many countries. So that's also good enough, no problem. If you studied Reiki, then Reiki masters learn symbols. There are 5 symbols, and the second symbol is called Sayake. And you can look at these symbols in books, but the symbols won't have the significance or meaning for you. Let's rather say, rather than significance, won't have the meaning for you because you won't have been attuned. You won't have received that modality from ancient wisdom passed down for generations. So you need to get that attunement from a Reiki master who can attune you. Study the Reiki 1 course or Reiki 2, where you learn these symbols, and then you can also go around the room, the house, the garden, the field, wherever it is that you need to balance. And I'm sometimes called to come to people's houses when they bought a new house, and I go and do Sayake, the second symbol, in all the corners of all the rooms in the house. Sometimes people don't want to burn incense, and so this is another alternative. The next alternative is to find crystals. So, for example, peridot is a very strong crystal, and hematite is another crystal, also for keeping away negative energy. The nice thing about these crystals is that you can find them in many crystal shops or in, the kind of shops that people buy when they're shopping in a foreign country, and they go and buy those kinds of things that are local to the country. For example, in South Africa, a lot of semi-precious stones and so on, crystals, come from the Namibia, Northwest Cape area. And so you can go to that kind of shop or buy it in a market. And then the nice thing about this kind of thing is that you can keep the peridot or the hematite in your pocket or in your handbag or whatever it is that you're carrying. And what you find is that you might put your hand in your pocket or in your handbag and actually found that the hematite is hot. And that is because it's actually absorbing negative energy on your behalf. and looking after you. Now, the thing about crystals and semi-precious stones and so on is they need to be cleaned. And if anything ends in ITE, you cannot clean it in salt water. It will disintegrate. So then you can clean it by putting it into rice or putting it into a bowl of sand. But don't put it outside in a bowl of sand because sand moves and you might put it outside and be able to find it again. Rather, get some sand from outside and put it in a pot, and a little flower pot that hasn't got flowers in it, just for the purpose of the sand, or put rice into the flower pot and then put the crystal. You can wash the crystal in plain water first and then put it in the sand or the rice, and then after a day or two you can take it out and you can wash it again and so on. But remember, if it ends in ite, then it cannot be put in salt water. If it doesn't end in ite, then you can clean crystals and semi-precious stones in salt water. Just be careful of that. The safest method is to do it in sand or in rice. So these are different kinds of things that you can do. You can do smudging, which is with the frankincense and sage. You can use crystals and you can use symbols. The next thing that you can do is you can protect yourself by saying, my back is protected. Or you can imagine, if you're Jewish, Magen David, shield of David around you, or whatever religion, way of life you have, you can imagine that there's a shield around you. And sometimes people say to me, David, I just can't get through to you. And it's not because I'm not listening to them. It's because I've got a shield. They don't even know. They might feel that there's something going on, but sometimes I have to drop my shield to allow people in. So it actually works very well when you wake up in the morning to do the Buddhist metta meditation. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and ease. May I be happy. May I be healthy. And then my back is protected. And don't say, I don't want to be stabbed in the back, because one's subconscious hears stabbed and so you get stabbed. What you want to do is you want to say, my back is protected. So try that now. Say, my back is protected. My back is protected. And it will be. So then we have prayer. Another way of protecting ourselves is we pray. We ask God to protect us. And there's lots of prayers and lots of meditations, lots of symbols in all the religions that are there for protection. In Judaism, there's the Saturday, the Sabbath, and at the end of the Sabbath there's Havdalah. And Havdalah is Ani Mavdilah, I separate myself. I separate my day. So that's another thing you can say. You can say Ani Mavdilah or Ani Mavdil if you're a man, and then you saying, I separate myself from whatever energies are inflicting my aura, in making me feel unhappy, sad, low, whatever it happens to be. So look for that kind of symbolism in your particular religion or your particular way of life, and then say the words that allow you to be separate from whatever it is that is penetrating your mind, body. And remember that if something manifests in the physical body, it came from spiritual, mental, emotional bodies. And then it manifests in the physical body. So whatever's happening in your physical body, you can try and trace it back to where does it come from? What does it mean? If I'm treating someone for Reiki, which I do from time to time, and I start feeling a pain in my knee or in my stomach or somewhere in my body while I'm doing the treatment, then I've got to check in and say, well, is this my pain or is it my client's pain? And I've learned after doing Reiki since 2007 that 9 times out of 10, if I suddenly start feeling some kind of pain or some kind of weird feeling in my body while I'm doing a treatment, then it's usually the person I'm with. And then the thing about a Reiki master is one's doing Reiki all the time. And one is receiving, and if I'm with someone in the room, that person is receiving healing from me all the time. And I might be out for breakfast with a friend or with a colleague, and suddenly I start feeling some pain in my leg or my knee or whatever. And if it's my knee, I can say to them, is something changing in your life? Or I can notice what they're talking about. If it's lower back pain, it could be a financial problem. If it's central back pain, it could be being stabbed in the back. There's all different parts of the body that will tell us things and give us information. So we need to protect ourselves. We need to, the Kabbalah interestingly enough, says we don't need to associate with people that bring us down or drag us into negative energy. And this is especially difficult when the person is a family member, a sibling, a brother or a sister, a child, a parent, a cousin, an uncle, an aunt, a niece or a nephew. These are particularly difficult and, pun intended, sensitive topics to discuss because you really want these things to work, but sometimes they just don't. Our parents birthed us and looked after us, hopefully, until we were maybe 18. After that, we could be on our own if we need to be. So, whilst we might want to be with our brothers and sisters and with our families, sometimes it's just impossible. And so we need to take ourselves out of that environment, or we need to protect ourselves using the instruments that I've discussed above. I hope this helps you to understand that the ball is very much in your court to decide for yourself what it is that you want to do with the energies that you're receiving. And you may not be feeling that they're energies, but you might be feeling down or depressed or overwhelmed or any of these things. As even happened to me today, because one of my suppliers let me down. And so it was just overwhelming that, I've been let down so many times. And that I have to deal with problems because, different suppliers use different methodologies. And sometimes those methodologies intersect, and you've had bad experiences of those methodologies. You try to explain that to that different supplier, and then you have to allow the different supplier to work the way that the other supplier is working, and then you end up with this kind of conflict. So another thing is that we have crying. The word today is being emotional. If you need to cry, allow yourself to cry. I'm 59 years old, 59 years young, and I cried today. And just the act of crying allows so much negative emotion just to flood out of your body. And if you have a dog or cat, then often that beautiful pet, the beautiful animal will come running to you and look after you in that moment. Of course, if you have a wife or a husband or a father or mother or whatever, and you're crying, and they are sensitive to your needs, they might come to you and hug you and hold you, which is the right approach. To come and say you're a crybaby is just not helpful. And that reminds me of well-meaning people. And I once spoke to a friend of mine and said that my biggest problem in life is well-meaning people. People who are trying to help you, but who are actually not helping. They don't understand your pain. They don't understand what you're going through. And they could be people that are close to you. So try the ways of protecting yourself. Start by just thinking, I am protected. Start by asking God to protect you. Start by using the incense or the smudge sticks or the crystals or any of the other methodologies that I've discussed. And as always, please like and subscribe and share. And I love you and I bless you, and may God keep you and look after you. Amen.